So this is Be a Citizen Scientist. So let's dive right in. So what is citizen science? Citizen science is a collaboration between scientists and people who are curious about the world around them. Anyone can participate. You don't need any special credentials or anything like that. Data gathered by citizen scientists helps working scientists come to real conclusions. As scientists and volunteers work together, and their data is accessible to both the public as well as to other scientists. And what's really neat about citizen science is that participating in it allows for research and studies that spans continents and over time, leading to discoveries that a scientist would have never achieved had they been working on their own. So we're going to give you a quick summary of the expectations and commitment involved for each opportunity. So you're going to see a corresponding icon for the program. This is an icon you will also see on the website or the app that this opportunity is available on. Any supplies you might need and a time commitment scale. So green is the least amount of time. Often you just need to upload a picture, something like that. Orange involves a little bit more focused time commitment. And of course, red will involve the most time. Our topics today include botany, ecology and the environment, backyard conservation, astronomy, and then archives. So let's see our very first citizen scientist opportunity. And this is the Lost Ladybug project. And it is funded by the National Science Foundation. And the reason this opportunity is even out there is that the native ladybug populations are declining while invasive ladybug populations are on the rise. And this shift, no one knows why it's happening right now. That is what they're trying to figure out. And if you see on the screen, the ladybug with fewer dots is a native ladybug. And then the one with more dots and that's a little bit more orange, that's an invasive one. So this project has citizen scientists taking pictures of the ladybugs they find. You upload them to the website along with some data. So the date, the time, where you saw it, what kind of habitat you were in. Were you out in a field? Were you taking a walk through a wooded area? Was it a garden? Something like that. And then Cornell entomologists will identify them. So you don't have to say, oh, it's the species of ladybug. Someone who's trained in insects will identify it. So that helps them see where these invasive species are coming from, where a population of native species are, and then kind of track them to figure out why these invasive species are taking over. So this one is not a heavy time commitment. You do need a device with internet connection. So that could be a desktop, laptop, tablet, smartphone, just something that connects you, as well as a camera or a camera phone. And I forgot to mention at the start of this, at the end, you will be receiving a handout with links to each of these. So if there's something you're really excited about, you can use that handout, click on the link, and it'll take you to that page. So let's go to our next, and this is Floating Forest. Now this one is funded by NASA, and you are looking at pictures that the Landsat satellites have taken of Earth from space, and you're looking for the giant kelp forest. So giant kelp forests, they are a foundation species. They are present in roughly 25% of the world's coastlines, and they form the foundation of an entire ecosystem. They provide food for herbivores, as well as habitat and hiding spaces for fish. It will dampen waves as they approach shores, so they're not as detrimental to the land, and they also provide ingredients that are used in many household products. So the Landsat satellite photographs the Earth's surface every 16 days, but unfortunately the satellites aren't designed to identify kelp. So they might take a picture of it, but it can't say, oh, there was kelp here. So the reflectance signature of kelp is just at the edge of the camera's detection abilities. That's why they can't see it. And these shapes in the pattern of kelp are easily seen by people. So this is one you will go to the website and you'll get a picture like this, and you'll say, yes, kelp is there. No, it's not. And you don't have to like intrinsically know, oh, there's kelp there. This is what it looks like. There's this field guide, and that field guide will pop out and it will give you what the kelp should look like. And that one does take a little bit more time commitment than ladybugs because you are having to scrutinize different pictures. The Floating Forest Project is funded by NASA, and this just helps them keep track of any changes that might be happening and to study where they all are. Might be a little bit of a delay in my PowerPoint. There we go. Our next one, we're going into space. This is Backyard Worlds, Planet 9. This is also funded by NASA. And at this time, we know that there are 8 planets orbiting the sun, but the patterns in the orbits of objects in the Kuiper belt suggest that there is a 9th planet orbiting beyond Neptune. And models that they have made of this planet suggest that we already have a picture of it from NASA's Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer, also known as WISE telescope, but we just don't recognize it. So we could be looking at a picture of it and not see it. And the man who found Pluto, he spent 7,000 hours looking at photographic plates before he saw Pluto in 1930. Backyard Worlds Planet 9 allows citizen scientists to work with a group of astrophysicists from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, Berkeley, Arizona State, the American Museum of Natural History, and the Space Telescope Science Institute to look at these pictures to see if we see this 9th planet. That way, the burden of looking for it isn't all on one person. It's divided out amongst different people. And then it does pair those citizen scientists with experts in the field. And this one is similar to the one where you're looking for the kelp forest. You'll get a picture like this, and then you're looking for objects of interest. And you can click on that field guide on the side. It'll pop out and it'll identify what it is that you are looking for. So you don't have to automatically know what this planet's going to look like. Let's see here. One moment. All right, I'm gonna go to the next slide. We might have a little bit of a delay again, but then I'm gonna hand it over to Rachel, who's joined us as soon as the slide changes. It's being a little slow today. There we go.
All right. So Gravity Spy. In 1916, Albert Einstein predicted that accelerating masses create ripples that propagate through the fabric of space-time. These are known as gravitational waves, but because of their small size, he thought that they would never be detected from Earth. He thought that, on September 14, 2015, a laser interferometer gravitational wave, LIGO, successfully did the first gravitational wave. LIGO is susceptible to instrumental and environmental sources of aberrations referred as noise. And sometimes these noise aberrations appear as poorly artifacts known as glitches, which happen frequently. Computers have a difficult time classifying these glitches because they require a pre-classified data set to operate correctly and reliably. Funded by the National Science Foundation, citizen scientists are recruited as gravity spies to that pre-classified data set to teach the computer to recognize this noise so that scientists can detect and study the gravitational waves in space. So this is a medium time commitment, and you will need a device with a connection in order to identify these glitches and mark them.
Okay, let's go back to Earth and look at the butterflies and moths of North America. This project seeks to be a one-stop database of butterfly and moth data that scientists can use to create or address research questions. So it doesn't have a specific study for it. It is just bringing in all this information about butterflies and moths in North America. So citizen scientists will submit photos of a butterfly or a moth, caterpillar, eggs, pupas, anything associated with butterflies or moths in an effort to provide access to quality controlled data about butterflies and moths in North America. They will only accept a record if they are accompanied by a photograph. So if you want to participate in this, make sure you get a picture of the caterpillar or the moth or whatever it is before you submit this data. You will need device with internet connection. This is another one where you're going to upload that information to it, and then a camera. And again, this can be your camera phone, standalone digital camera. They don't need to be exhibit worthy pictures, but we do want to make sure that there's detail. So you can see here on the screen, we have a swallowtail, a Ceropia moth, and then of course the monarch, which is a very endangered species, but does pass our way.
All right, BudBurst is funded by the National Science Foundation and the Chicago Botanical Garden. The goal of BudBurst is to bring about a better understanding of how plants respond to change in climate and nationally. There are two options. The first is phenology and climate. And by observing the way that plants react to season changes, you can help answer the question, how is climate change affecting phenology? And the second way to participate is to track pollinator visits. You will observe a plant and count the number of incidental pollinators that visit during your observation times. You'll want to also note the type of plant that the pollinators are visiting. Citizen scientists will use BudBurst to submit their observations, and the app is free. It's available on both Android and iOS devices.
So our next opportunity is the IC Change app. So this is another app. Citizen scientists report their experience with climate change to experts. Now, there are different actions that you can do to take a targeted approach to postings, as well as posting things that you have observed. So there's options like they'll give you this action we're doing today. Tell us about the rain, tell us about this. So if you're not really sure how to start, stick with those actions. Once you get a hang of it, you can start doing your own thing. I think my favorite post as I was going through here, a user posted a picture of some dead worms on his sidewalk. And he said, we had a lot of rain, all the worms came out, and then it really quickly got hot and they fried on the sidewalk. So you're not looking at like these huge changes, they're smaller ones. And The app is available for both Android and iOS devices. This one is more interactive, so you can connect with community members and have conversations about climate change and what you're seeing. And since it's not as direct as some of the others, like take a picture of this butterfly, look for a kelp forest, we up the time commitment on this because it kind of makes you think outside of the box, and you're also interacting with others. And again, this is an app, so you can download it to your mobile device and access it there. You will need to create an account, but from there you can start using it.
All right, our next opportunity is the Invaders of Texas. Citizen scientists contributing to the Invaders of Texas will detect the arrival and dispersal of invasive species in their area, with the goal of increasing our chances of lessening or avoiding the native landscape. After completing a paced Voyage Online training program, you will create a profile and upload your invasive observations online. There is also an Invaders app that upload your observations to. Now, there is also an option for an in-person training. You would want to check the website for the dates and locations. And again, at the end of the program, you will get that information on how you can connect with that. Now, pictured here, see some invasive species in the area is a nutria, which is a semi-aquatic rodent, lionfish, and the zebra mussels. This is one of our most time commitments. You will have to go through that training, and you will need an internet device and a camera to participate in the Invaders.
Right, next we have Ebird, and this is something that Rachel and I both have used quite a bit. It is from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and it is one of the world's largest biodiversity related science projects. It allows users to report birds that they see. So you're going to create a checklist of the birds you identified during the recorded period of time that you spend bird watching. So if you're going for a walk or maybe picnic or just a visit to the park, you can pull out the app, get it started, and just start checking off all the birds that you see. And it's a lot of fun. I do recommend having something with you that will help you identify birds, because especially starting out, you might not be able to know some of the less common birds, blue jay, cardinal, things like that. You'll probably recognize them, but occasionally we'll both run into one where we like, haven't seen this one before. So some helpful apps to help you ID birds is BirdNet. This one's really neat. It is a bird sound identification. So if you can hear it but not see it, pull that app out, run it, and it will help you identify what bird is making that sound. Merlin Bird ID is also by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And I will say it's going to take up a bit of room on your device. So it has a lot to go with it, but you can download a packet, I think is what they call it, but it's all electronic, of the birds in your area. So it's not like, oh, what's this yellow bird I just saw? And suddenly you think you've seen something that's, in a completely different part of the country. And if you do submit a bird on eBird that maybe is rare in this part of the its range, they'll email you and say, hey, this isn't one we see very often. Can you give us more information? So it's a very active back and forth app as well. So it is a bit more of a time commitment because you're going around birds and logging those as you see them. It will also get your locations. You do have to identify where you are so that scientists can say, oh yes, there were this many blue jays on this day in this exact location. There are other more labor-intensive citizen science apps from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. So if you want to do a deeper dive, There's Nest Watch, where you can monitor birds' nests. So if you ever find a nest with eggs in it, say in your yard, if you can observe it from a safe distance away, you can record the growth of the chicks and things like that. And then from November to April, there's Feeder Watch. So if you have a bird feeder in your backyard during November to April, you can log the birds that come visit, and it kind of gives them an idea of what birds are frequenting at places where humans have put out food. But this one's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's something I'll do at lunch. We're at a location where there's a park nearby, so we can just see what birds are visiting us. And of course, if you don't want to use an app to identify birds, we have quite a few field guides at the library you can check out as well. Not just birds, anything, animals, mammals, insects, things like that.
All right, the Great Sunflower Project asks citizen scientists to identify where pollinators are doing well and where they are not, where they need a little bit of extra help. What you'll do when you're participating in this project is look out for and count the number of pollinators and record the length of time that you observe them. Also need to count and identify the types of flowers visit. Create an account and upload your pollinator. And another way to participate is this one is a pretty easy time commitment, a low time. And again, you will need to create an account when participating in this citizen science project.
Hey, Rachel, can you go back to the part about the lemon queen sunflower? It cut out just a little bit. If you could start from there.
Oh, sure. Another way that you can participate in the Green Flower Project, besides doing pollinator count, is to plant a lemon queen sunflower and count the number of pollinators that are attracted to that particular sunflower. Did that go through?
Yes, thank you. I went too far. No, I have my notes out of order. I apologize. Okay, so our next one, this is a neat one as well. This is by the people, and it is with the Library of Congress. So users will transcribe Library of Congress documents, as well as review already transcribed documents for accuracy. So you can transcribe something for the first time, or you can kind of check someone else's work. And then these transcriptions are put on Library of Congress, loc.gov, for users to search and access. So what you're doing is you're opening up the archives to users. These would be things that normally, if you wanted to research them, you'd have to go to the Library of Congress and dig through those original sources. This puts them online. And there's a lot of different campaigns to pick from. So you can do it based on interest or anything like that. There's a few on the screen that are active right now. One is called Rough Rider to Bull Moose, and you're transcribing letters written to Theodore Roosevelt. There's the Papers of March Church Terrell. She was an advocate for African Americans and women. And then another interesting one is the Sears Spiritualist and the Spirit Worlds campaign. These are the experiments of a man named Frederick Hockley. And these papers were originally in the personal library of Harry Houdini. So you will be looking at something that was in Harry Houdini's library, transcribing it so it's easily accessible to researchers online.
All right, and our last project that we have to share called Notes from Nature. The last project that we have today is another museum-centered project called Notes from Nature. Now, there are over 10 billion specimens housed in the natural history museums around the world, and they hold irreplaceable information about how loss of biodiversity can impact human well-being. This is funded by the National Science Foundation. Notes Nature project is an opportunity for citizen science to contribute to the conservation of the collected and preserve cultural heritage in natural science. There are several projects to choose from in this project, including the invertebrate time machine, where you can you'll be asked to transcribe historic marine invertebrate labels and archive specimen data for research. A project that you can be involved in is the Flora of Texas and Oklahoma, where you transcribe over 200 years of botanical information from scientific herbarium species. So the time commitment on this one is rather high. Of course, you can select how much you do device with internet connection in order to participate in your project.
All right, I'm going to, let's see, before we end our PowerPoint, do we have any questions? I'm gonna actually stop sharing my screen for a few minutes so I can look. And there we go. If we have any questions, we'll give it just a few minutes. I don't see any coming in. So I think that might be it for today. So I'll share my screen one more time. And we'll go all the way down. Well, everything's acting a little strange today. Thank you all so much for your patience. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate you being here. Again, if you are interested in any of these and perhaps need a field guide or something like that, you can go on to our website, our app, give us a call, or just come on into one of the buildings. We'll be happy to help you locate that. Be sure to stay up to date with the Plano Public Library by following us on our social media sites. So our website, our Facebook page, our Instagram, and you can also check out our blog. It is the PlanoLibraryLearns.org blog. There you can find recordings of past programs and other materials about how to take advantage of everything the Plano Public Library has to offer. Thank you all so very much for being here today. If you have a moment at the end of the program, if you could complete the survey that pops up, we would greatly appreciate that. We really do value your feedback. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Bye, guys.